This is part 45 of my series on my N-gauge model railway project. Previous parts covered the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part covers assembling body mount Kadee couplings from the kit form you can buy them in, and is by way of being an extension and response to the video on this subject by Ron's Trains and Things, link in description below. I watched Ron's video and decided to have a go at using Microtrains Kadee couplings for some wagons that I had obtained that were missing couplings. I model in British N-gauge, and what I modelled is operations in the 1930s, principally LMS in the British Midlands. However, I have broadened my scope to include some trains from others of the big four pre-nationalisation companies, and the wagons I was putting these couplings on are Great Western wagons. Most of my rolling stock has Rapido couplings, as those are what comes standard when buying pretty much anything in N-gauge from the UK. I don't like Rapido couplings very much. They're large and clunky looking, and they often don't stay coupled very well, especially when linking stock from different manufacturers. However, I haven't tried to switch over my whole layout to another type of coupling, as it would be a massive job with all of the rolling stock that I have. It would be quite an expense, and on some of the stock replacing the couplings would be quite difficult, especially the engines. In this case, however, I was faced with a collection of Great Western wagons I obtained that had either very strange couplings made from some sort of brass kit, or no couplings at all. I did in fact first think of just putting on Rapido couplings to match everything else, but these wagons have very little space underneath in which to fit couplings, so fitting Rapidos proved problematic. So I thought of turning to the Kadee couplings that are popular with American modelers. I watched Ron's video and some others, and decided to go ahead with using body mount Kadees. Ron recommended using the kit form Kadees to save money. I bought both the kit form Kadees and the ready assembled, and I have to say my recommendation would be the opposite of Ron's. I'd say just go with the ready assembled. I bought both types from tiny railroads in Delhi, Ontario, Canada. I paid $10 Canadian for 4 ready assembled short body mount Kadee couplings, and $6.55 for 4 Kadees in kit form. So the saving was about 86 cents a coupling. I have to say that assembling the kits is way more than 86 cents worth of work. But now that I've bought the kits, I'm going to use them, and there might be other reasons for needing to assemble this type of coupling. Here's a close-up of the package of the kit form couplings that I bought. Really, the only reason I'm making this video on assembling these is that Ron never did actually manage to complete assembling one on camera. He got everything done very neatly, and I took his advice into account, but getting the lid onto the box at the end is probably the most difficult part of the assembly, and Ron couldn't manage to get that done on camera. Here are the parts that come in the kit package. Each black plastic sprue contains the parts for one coupling, with the option to make either a short or a long coupling. The 2 sprues at the back are from couplings I previously assembled, so they just have the parts that I didn't use on them. Look at the sprue at the bottom left. From the bottom left, clockwise, the parts are main box, long knuckle piece, short knuckle piece, short blade piece, long blade piece, and block box lid. If you are making a short coupler, you need to cut off the ends of the box and the lid. The step that you can see in the lid there is where you have to cut for a short coupler. There is a similar step on the box itself, but it's on the other side here, so you can't see it. At the back left, you can see the screws which are used for attaching the coupler to a wagon. I found that the screws that came in the kit form were much better than those that came with the pre-assembled couplers. Honestly, I have to say I feel it's just stupid to be using slot-headed screws at all for something like this. Phillips screws would be so much easier to handle and drive. And when I work with very small RC stuff, it's pretty much all Phillips screws. But at least the screws in the kits had decent, sharply cut slots. The screws that came with the pre-assembled Kadee couplings had shallow, rounded slots that made it almost impossible to drive them with any kind of screwdriver. The 2 capsules contain the tiny parts, a sensible way of packaging those, as they could be very easily lost. The capsule at the left has the decoupling pins, and the capsule at the right has the springs. So, Now let's see if I can assemble one of the kit couplings on camera to show you how I managed it. Okay, I'm going to see if I can assemble one of these Kadee couplings on camera for you. It's fiddly because it's fiddly to do, and of course it's also fiddly to see whether you can see anything in the camera, because half the time you can't. So the first thing we got to do is I got to cut off, because I want to assemble a short coupling, so I'm going to have to cut off the ends of the box and the lid here. So I cut the end off that, and we've also got to cut the end off here, which is kind of hard to do. Can't see the problem is you can't really see in the camera, can you? I don't know. Can't even get cut through that, it's hard to do. I'm gonna have to do it on the edge where I can get underneath it better. There we go. And do it once we got something to press on. Okay, now we'll try and take the parts off the sprue. The problem is, I know you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Oh, it's impossible. I don't know how to do this so you can see it. Really. Oops. And I have to put my finger on things, because if I don't put my finger on things, they're going to fly away as they come off the sprue. And you have to be careful you don't cut through the coupling when you're taking that off. I'm trying to make a short coupling here, so I'm using the shorter pieces, and I've cut the box down to the short size. Whoops-a-daisy. Okay. Now we should have those off. Now we may need to just give them a little bit of a rub where they came off the sprue, just to remove any part of the sprue that's left. Alright. So, okay, now we're going to need, that's the top part, which needs to go the other way up. Famous last words. Oh, I cannot get the blithering thing to go the way up I want it to. Go on. Oh, fiddly things they are. Okay, and we're going to need a decoupling pin, of course. So we'll take a decoupling pin out of the little capsule it comes in, and we're going to put the longer end of that into the piece of the coupling, and we can't do that with tweezers because you can't get hold of it firmly enough with tweezers, so we have to use pliers for that. Okay, so that's pushed in there with pliers. Now as soon as that's pushed in, the coupling falls over, in my experience. Your experience may differ, but I find the coupling always, it won't stand up once you do that. But anyway, now what we're going to do is thread the other bit on, whoops, and that has to go with a sort of the little paddle facing downwards, and that fits over the pin. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that really, but anyway, we try. Okay. This then has to go into the box with those two loops over the pin in the box, which is easier said than done. And then we're going to need a spring. There's one spring. Now, as Ron said in his video, and the only reason I'm doing this is because largely because Ron never managed to get the lid on camera, and I'm hoping I can manage that, but Ron got this far, of course. Ron says picking up the spring is most easily done with a knife, like that. Just put it on the blade of the knife. And then we got to sort of, famous last words, get the spring in. Oh! Ooh, spring popped away there. Lucky we didn't lose it. Didn't actually lose it. Still got the spring, but oh, they're so prone to popping away, these springs, because of course they're springs. Okay, let's try once more. To put the spring, we're trying to put the spring. Yeah, easier with fingers than tweezers. We're trying to put the spring there in between the pin, inside the loops between the pin. Now we've got to get the lid on, and that's the most difficult piece of all. And we'll see if we can do it. I find the best way to get the lid on is to first get the lid and put the screw through the lid. So we're putting the screw through the lid there, the way it's supposed to go. Then we get hold of the screw underneath, where are we? We get hold of the screw underneath the lid, and we try to put the screw into the hole in the box where it goes, and then we let go very gently. And then we line up the hole, the lid, and push it down with the tweezers. Did we get it? I don't know. Yes, we did get it. It's not centering as well as it might, but we got it. It is in fact on. There you go. And that's now ready. Yep, that lid is pushed down as well as it's going to get pushed down, I think. I don't think that's going to get pushed down any better. So there it is. It's assembled and ready to have the screw put through it and be mounted on a wagon. And to mount it on the wagon, of course, the screw just goes through like that. Horrible screws, of course. Why the heck they didn't use Phillips head screws? That would be so much easier to screw, although these ones that come with the kits are actually better than the ones that come with the ready-made Kadees. The screws that come with the ready-made Kadees are these, the silver screws there that come with the ready-made Kadees have terrible heads that, you know, the slot isn't even sharp, so it's really hard to get a screwdriver in and make them screw. Anyway, I hope you could actually see something there. Well, there you are. And here are the couplings holding wagons together. The boxcar on the left is fitted with the ready-made Kadee couplings, and the boxcar on the right is fitted with ones that I made from kit form. I do feel that the kit form ones look better, as the darker colour of the decoupling pins makes them less visible, and of course they're completely unprototypical. Of course I could just paint the copper-coloured pins, I suppose. Indeed, I don't really need the pins at all, since I'm not attempting to actually implement automated uncoupling. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, please post in the comments and I'll try to respond.